Welcome everybody. Another episode of Coffee with Korey and Jeff, and we're excited to be with you today. We're on a pretty cool journey, a 4-part series on demystifying marketing, demystifying digital marketing.
Yes.
Right.
So we got our new coffee cups, which are pretty awesome.
That's right. Pretty stoked about our new cups.
Yes. Thanks to your wife for
coffee
getting those
tastes
done.
better in those for some reason. So last episode we talked about demystifying SEO. Really fascinating stuff. I mean, the term SEO has to be one of the most misunderstood
and ever evolving
terms in today's era of digital marketing. I mean, it's just so abused. It's so thrown around and so just misused. So if you didn't catch that episode, go back and watch it. I think it was really good stuff.
Probably want to start there.
Yeah, probably want to start there. Good stuff. So it really led us into this conversation around search engine marketing, SEM, buying your way into certain places or real estate points on Google,
yep.
And potentially other areas. But wanted to touch on that because this is an area where our practice owners out there can actually control their destiny.
Yes.
Right?
Unlike search engine optimization, you do have some control.
Yeah.
You have a lot of control.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Right. Good point. So let's just talk through the difference between, what we talked about last episode with the SERP and the SEO and this SEM, search engine marketing. Let's break that definition down early on here so we know we're all talking about the same thing. So can you talk that through?
Yeah, so I think we'll try to make this quick so we can get into the SEM portion. But SEO is search engine optimization. It's the process of organically, meaning not using advertising, optimizing or elevating your presence on the web.
Overall presence,
yes.
Your digital footprint.
Yes, and go back and watch that other video and you'll get better definition or deeper definition. Then search engine ranking position is an often misused, misunderstood term that is a subset of both SEO and SEM, which we're going to talk about today, which is search engine marketing, which is essentially advertising on the web. Mm-hmm. So it's paid processes versus unpaid processes.
Yep. Okay. So SEO, SCRP, SERP, and today we're on SEM.
Yes.
And SEM being essentially paid locations. So let's break down. First of all, let's talk about the types of paid search and the different types of ads. So can you break down? Because I know there's some categories there that we really should understand first. So can you break down, I think earlier you mentioned intent-based ads, top of mind, awareness type ads, and then...
So the third is kind of a hybrid of the two.
Okay.
So we'll start with top of mind because that is the most common process that we think about when we think about advertising.
Yeah.
And I always use traditional tactics to help users understand or viewers understand digital tactics because they're really the same. They're just done online versus offline.
Yeah.
And there's more control or tracking mechanisms. But a billboard is a top of mind ad. It means I wasn't looking for the service when I drove by, but the service itself might have created some intrigue, or not the service, but the billboard might have created some intrigue. So I decide to look further.
So I wasn't necessarily in the hunt for this particular product. It just kind of got put in my face.
Exactly.
And it establishes maybe brand awareness so that when I think about that thing, I might think about that company. So that's
maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe never, which is why top of mind advertising is oftentimes misunderstood, considered ineffective in many cases, which is so not true.
Oh man.
But again, it's because typically we want to see a direct return on investment, and so it's hard to quantify.
Yep.
And we'll to avoid going down that rabbit trail, we'll stay with right now. We've got top of mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so awareness advertising, which is very valuable, harder to track. Then intent is the exact opposite, which is, this is the one area, probably the only area where you can really track intent is digital, because we can put ads in front of people who are actually seeking services.
Right. I want hot donuts.
Yes.
I actually want hot donuts right now.
Me too. Can we pause and go? Donuts and coffee with Korey and Jeff.
Yeah, there you go. We should add that.
We should change the name.
Definitely. But I'm now so that type of advertising, you're actually catching someone while they're truly searching for it.
Yes, there's an intentionality there.
Intent based.
Yes. And then there's a combination of the two, which is sort of, or kind of a hybrid, which is called remarketing. So somebody, in the example of the billboard, somebody drove by the billboard, wasn't interested at the time, it caught their attention, but with a billboard, you can't re-grab them, you can't recapture them, but with digital, you can.
Right.
And so we can then say, hey, you stopped by, here we are again.
Yeah, so this is the Big Brother stuff, right?
Yes.
This is like
tracking.
You get a cookie, you get some kind of what they call a Google Pixel or something like that, and so you're looking for a new set of boots, new set of sweet Tacova boots or something, and then lo and behold, everything I see is Tacova boots, right?
That's
so
remarketing.
Remarketing.
Yeah.
We've all experienced that.
Yes, and those three. This is where we oftentimes have to educate our healthcare clients. Is one doesn't work well without the other. Mm-hmm. So if I don't, in a perfect world, we would have the potential prospect thinking of us, the advertiser, before they ever showed intent.
Yep.
Right? Because when they show intent,
scenario.
there's a lot of competition potentially.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to search for the boots, well, everybody wants your attention.
Yep.
So that's why branded or top of mind advertising is so valuable. That's why we see Geico ads everywhere. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean we're ready to spend 15 minutes online to see if we can save 15%, right?
Right.
But when we do, Geico wants us thinking of them.
Yeah.
And name any of your Fortune 500 and above companies, they're all trying to vie for your mind space.
Right.
We're no different in healthcare, except for instead of trying to reach the world, we're trying to reach a community.
Yeah.
And digital marketing, the beauty of digital marketing is that you can do that at a lower cost, higher frequency, and more targetability than that billboard or that newspaper or that radio television could ever do.
Yeah.
And you can track it.
Yep. Okay, so that's so good. Admittedly, I think one of the areas that we hear a lot about, customers calling in, is not understanding the branded awareness stuff and the power of that and the need for that, and it sort of drives us crazy when
if I get another client to call and say, I want to stop Facebook advertising because it's not working, I'm going to pull my hair out.
Right.
How do you know it's not working?
Right. And yet we've used billboards for years, and we used, heaven forbid, yellow page ads. Things that get you, newspaper ads back in the day. For the most part, branding and awareness kind of stuff. There's obviously you can put some calls to action in there and create some intent, but intuitively we all get branding. We all get this, like, I want my name out there. We all want our name out there, our company's name or our practice's name out there. But yet when we go to do that kind of marketing, we're highly unsatisfied with it because we don't have that, I spent $1 and I got $5.
That immediate gratification isn't there. But guess what? No advertising is that way. The only difference is digital marketing has given us a viewpoint into intent-based advertising. Mm-hmm. And so it shows what we call the last touch.
Yeah.
So for example, a Facebook ad might generate traffic, probably will generate traffic quite well to your website.
Yep.
But then maybe that visitor doesn't take action at that moment because, again, top of mind ad. Does that mean that Facebook ad didn't work? Well, no, because once that user left your website, we're remarketing to them.
100%.
And then when that user finally decides to act, maybe 6 months down the road, maybe one day down the road, They go on to Google, they type in dentist near me, and there's your ad again, and they say, hey, wait a minute, I saw that guy before.
Right.
Or we remarket to them on Facebook again later, and they act later.
Yeah.
And what a dentist or a healthcare provider oftentimes will look at is they'll say, well, what was the last touch attribution? What was the last touch? And how do they evaluate that? Mr. Patient, how did you find us? That's the most unrealistic, unmeasurable methodology for tracking advertising, because that person may have seen multiple touches, but the last contact point was what they're going to let you know.
And ironically, the more you're out there, the more your actual SEO is up to snuff, the more that your presence and your brand is out there, the harder that question actually becomes to answer, right?
Yes, Geico doesn't.
Because I'm being seen in lots of places. My brand is prevalent. My brand is good. People do word of mouth. People are seeing me on Facebook. And so if I actually have a sophisticated strategy, that last touch question is actually harder to answer than spending less money.
This is what we call multi-touch attribution. To me, multi-touch attribution is a way better measurement of your advertising spend than last touch attribution. Mm-hmm. And you can't ask a patient and get multi-touch attribution.
Sure.
Ask yourself, when was the last time you saw a Geico commercial?
Yeah.
Where did you see it? What channel did you watch it on? At what time of the evening, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
And did you act on it?
Right.
The answer is probably no to all of those questions. I can't answer those questions.
Okay, so we've got branded, the first category is
building awareness.
Building awareness, right? And that's the long game.
Mm-hmm.
That is having a brand, creating awareness. People know your name. So that
building an audience.
Building an audience. Very good. Yes, definitely building an audience. So the long game. Very few people are comfortable with that. They want the instant result. You get they call and they say, cancel my Google ads, cancel my Facebook ads. It's not working.
Yes.
I mean, just like that's like saying nobody's on the web, right? So long game needs to have patience and understanding it. It needs a budget, and it's got to be consistent.
Yep.
Dear Lord, let those ads run.
Yes.
Right? So let's get to number 2.
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah. Don't, right, exactly. Or cut off your nose to spite your face.
Yeah.
Or
what other analogy can we come up with?
Yeah. So category number 2. So the intent-based stuff.
Yes.
You've got the long game going, and you got a good brand, you got a good name, people are thinking about you. Let's talk through the category number 2, the intent-based types of ads.
Yeah. Well, this is a little better in the sense of it scratches that itch that everyone intuitively wants to scratch when it comes to advertising.
Instant gratification, right?
Instant gratification.
There's nothing that feels better than when you place an ad and you get a lead.
Yeah.
You're like, it worked.
Yeah.
You love that.
And
there's a high with that,
I will
right?
admit, I want that. We want that.
Yeah,
it's like
totally.
It's very important to have that as a part of your overall strategy.
Yeah.
But you just have to remember, and we will answer the question, but you have to remember that your multi-touch attribution, your top of the funnel advertising, that top of mind awareness is impacting this next channel that we're talking about.
Yep.
Because that helps you build the audience so that you can remarket to them, you can get to them when they have intent, when they decide they want to spend 15 minutes to save 15%. That's when the intent kicks in. All this stuff up above, it matters.
Yeah, this is a really bad example, and probably I shouldn't say this because people might think I vote irresponsibly. But let's be real. You walk into the poll booth, right?
Yep.
Into the polling booth. I don't know who the commissioner is in the third sector of my county, but you know who I end up scratching on the box in for? A lot of the time, shame on me, it's the guy I saw the most signs, and I'm like, I recognize his name.
Yeah. And he must be popular. He must be, have rapport and built. We must be able to trust him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just what you just said, I just wanted to tee off on that for a second. When they have intent, you're going back to your learned history of who do I trust, what have I seen, and you see that ad, and then I might go in.
Yep. And none of that happens if at the moment you're ready to act, there's no value.
Yep. No association.
No association.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So intent, though, is powerful. So this is when we type in dentist near me or chiropractor near me or and again, it's not the word near me or the phrase near me is not necessary.
Yeah.
But I use that as an example because all of these search queries are typically locally influenced. Mm-hmm. Because in healthcare, Google knows we're looking for a specific topic that is going to have a brick and mortar solution typically.
Right.
So when you type in dentist, chiropractor, MD,
sure,
dental spa, medical spa, these kinds of...
It's assuming a near me kind of search.
It's assuming that you're looking for
Google's smart.
Brick and mortar. Yeah, exactly. So that is a great area where we can optimize and have control so that you are at the top, mm-hmm. unlike traditional SEO, which again, we talked about in the last video. You can place yourself in the top of search.
Yep. And
yes, advertising is oftentimes misunderstood in that we don't oftentimes think that it's clicked on. Mm-hmm. But over 60% of the click-throughs now are what we call no-click or mm-hmm. ad-based clicks. No-click means in the Google Maps.
Yep.
And the only way to anchor at the top of Google Maps is with advertising.
Yep.
So, and the best way to target intent is Google Maps and top of search for those particular keywords.
Yeah. So just really quick, I want to break down that no-click thing really quick because Google's controlling more and more of our digital time, our digital cycles, and more up front. So just talk through a no-click really quick.
Yeah, it probably didn't make sense. So a no-click means that I never leave the Google ecosystem. In this case, we're talking about the maps. Mm-hmm. Google My Business. That's where your reviews show up. That's where your address, phone number, a website shows up. But why they call it a no-click is people don't click over onto the website. They get everything they need right in the Google ecosystem.
So I see a listing in the Google Maps pack. I click in a little bit and I'm in there, Google My Business, real estate, and there might be a menu or an online ordering screen right there. Hotels. Yep. I mean, you can book a hotel through Google. Yep. And, I ordered some sushi yesterday. Mm-hmm. I never landed on their site. I Googled sushi. I found a good one near me. I just hit the phone number and I'm ordering. Yep. Never went to their site.
Yep.
And that's a no-click type search.
Yep. And that is now happening 60% of the time for local healthcare searches.
Yeah.
Insane amounts of traffic.
Yeah, so think about that when it comes to your obsession with SERP.
Right.
Right? And not that it's not important, but I mean, a lot of times if your Google My Business is configured well and you've got some extra features in there and some things you can do with that.
Like book an appointment.
Yeah. Book an appointment online. You should be able to do that through your Google My Business page section. How important is SERP at that point? Not that it isn't, but it is devalued a little bit.
Well, you can spend all your time getting to the top of organic search to improve your search ranking position and still miss 60% of the opportunity.
Yeah.
Where's your money better spent?
Yep.
This is where I'm going to get on my soapbox. It drives me batty when a client wants to stop our services, because we have services that optimize the client inside of Google Maps with paid advertising.
Yeah.
And they say, well, I don't want to do that anymore because it doesn't work. It's like, well, there isn't any more direct, lower cost, higher impact benefit.
Yeah.
It's like pretty close to a pot of gold and you don't want to do it. I don't understand it.
It would be likened to really, honestly, like choosing to opt out of the GE white and yellow pages 30 years ago. You're just like, I don't want to be there. It's like,
I don't want people to be able to find my phone number.
Right. How are they going to find you? Yeah. This is where the ducks are flying. These are where the eyeballs are. And yet, out of either impatience or lack of knowledge, it's like, we need to stop that. It's like, don't do that. So, keep us on track. Awareness, intent.
Yes.
And I feel like we covered intent pretty well. Like it's just
basically it's when someone's
looking.
Querying what they're looking for. Yeah. You're there at the top, which is most commonly maps and top of search ads.
Yep. I want a hot donut. I know Joe's. I've been seeing Joe's hot donuts.
You got to stop using the hot donut example, man. We're going to quit this video.
I want sauerkraut.
That's better.
What time is it? I want a hot donut. I know Joe's has been good. I've been seeing his stuff. I've seen reviews. I've been seeing him on Facebook. Yeah. And I'm searching. Boom, there he is. I'm going to go. That's intent.
Yep.
Okay. So then the last piece being the remarketing. And let's talk through that because that's massively powerful and super important. And a big part of catching people while they're in the intent mode, right? So, branding. I mean, it's good for everything, but let's talk through it.
It's a great hybrid.
Yeah.
And again, my belief, and we've proved it here at our own company, is you can't have one without the other to have a complete strategy. Mm-hmm. You can't just be at the top of search when somebody wants something because there's competition there.
Yep.
Got to be thought of before they get there.
Yep.
Et cetera, et cetera. So, remarketing, the power of remarketing is, the best example is you can do the other two versions, see an ad on Facebook, have intent and search something, and still be in research mode.
Yeah.
I search for the cool boots example, what's the brand?
Tecovas.
Tecova boots. That's an intent-based search.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you bought Tecova boots once you went over to the query that you found.
Right.
Well, wherever you landed, wherever you ended up, whether it was a reseller of Tecova, or not, that intent now, depending on your advertising optimization, I can then put my ads in front of you.
Yeah, I can start following you around.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so powerful.
Yeah. So you showed intent, but you didn't buy yet.
Yeah.
But now I'm in the game. Yeah. Now I get a chance to get your attention,
stay in front of you,
and get you to take action.
Continued branding and continued intent.
So if you never had top of mind advertising and you only had intent based advertising, unless you win the intent game at that moment and they click over to your website, you can't remarket.
Yep.
Which is why top of mind advertising is so valuable, but yet you can't necessarily quantify it in a one-to-one attribution. It has to be, you're building an audience, you're building awareness, and that awareness and that audience is now used for remarketing.
Yep.
And then when they show intent, you win the deal. You win the opportunity.
Yep. Wow, good stuff. So the trilogy of digital ad spend, the trilogy of where you need to be, there's definitely a big strategy here. This is because I imagine our viewers are in their mind, they're seeing a lot of Google in their mind as we're talking.
Yeah.
And I see those.
I hope we're painting that picture for them.
Yeah, it's certainly more than that, and it's certainly the three categories. But those three categories span the World Wide Web, and all the digital real estate out there where you can show up. Holy smokes, there's a lot there. It is admittedly challenging, very, very difficult for a new user to just get on and place a Google ad, have them be relevant, create landing pages. It's a challenging deal, and it requires a lot of strategy, or you can blow a lot of money and get nowhere.
When we get into our strategy video, what we'll talk about is the different types of campaign messaging to capitalize on where the user is, top of mind versus intent. You use those channels differently and you optimize those channels differently in order to, again, the ultimate goal of a marketer should be lowest cost, provide the client lowest cost, highest amount of exposure for that low cost, best targetability, best chance for conversion. Those are the four pillars.
High impression count, great cost of impressions, great conversion rates, getting your CAC, your cost of customer acquisition costs down. All those things come into play in a good strategy. And honestly, a really good strategy not only talks about how to get the interest in the lead, but you got to do something with it when you get that lead. That needs to be part of the strategy. There's tools and platforms for that, and there's training and staff. It's all bits put into a blender into a successful lead to patient journey that really truly turns into paying patients. So strategy is a big one because it's complicated.
We'll get there next.
We get there next. So thanks for spending time with us. Again, hopefully it's helpful, and we are looking forward to talking through next episode about building a strategy that actually works and gets you new patients.
Yep.
So we'll see you then.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.